That phantom we saw earlier. He said he was an ancient king of Hyrule. What else do we know? The element was nowhere to be seen in the Wind Ruins. I guess we'll just have to go to the place marked on our map. But first you should infuse your sword with that element. We must head for the Elemental Sanctuary. This is Legendary Adventures, a Legend of Zelda playthrough podcast. This week in the Minish Cap, we're powering up the White Sword, braving the haunted Royal Valley, and ascending above the clouds to find the final element. As Eslo hinted, we have an immediate goal of powering up Link's sword, before heading to the location marked on his map to meet the ghost of King Gustav. Before doing that, however, I spent some time fusing Kinstones. Notable fusions included fusing with a Minish, who lives to the east of Link's home. We need to ram a tree with the Pegasus boots to reveal a portal that allows us to access the home. The fusion inspired the witch Syrup to finish a potion that she's working on. After the fusion, players can head to her shop and buy Red Potion. Interestingly, the potion colors are reversed in the Minish Cap compared to most games in the series. Starting with A Link to the Past, most Zelda titles which have featured empty bottles have used a red potion to represent a lower level potion that refills some hearts, and a blue potion for a higher level potion that refills all life and magic. The Minish Cap has no magic meter. It also reverses the colors. Blue is the lower level potion that only refills some hearts, and red refills all hearts. It may be sort of a slantwise reference to the original Legend of Zelda. In that game, potions came with 2 servings. When both servings were available, the potion appeared red, but when only 1 serving was available, the potion appeared blue. That could be why the stronger potion is red in the Minish Cap. Another set of fusions worth noting involved Tingle and his brothers. Tingle has now appeared on a ledge to the east of Link's home. The Cane of Pachi is needed to reach him. The Minish Cap marks the final appearance of Tingle and his brothers in a mainline Legend of Zelda title. There will be some Easter eggs referencing Tingle in games that follow, but this is the last time that he appears as a full-fledged, non-playable character within a mainline Zelda game. While prior to Four Swords Adventures, Tingle was all about maps, that's changed now. In Four Swords Adventures, he was all about Force Gems, and in the Minish Cap, he's all about Kinstones. Tingle has set up fusions for Link with him and his brothers, in the hopes that the fusions will result in Tingle turning into a real fairy. Tingle's brothers are scattered around the map. Knuckle is found on the north end of Trilby Highlands. He can only be reached by using the mole mitts to dig through a dirt cave to reach a ladder. Ankle is on a ledge at Lon Lon Ranch. We need to pass through a cave and push a block that requires 2 links in order to reach him. As established in the Wind Waker, David Jr. is not truly related to Tingle or to his 2 brothers. The Minish Cap includes some fun nods to this fact, by having David Jr. out of sync with the other brothers. While the other 3 are found on high ledges, David Jr. is found in an easily accessible low spot near Lake Hylia. Each time a Kinstone is fused with a Tingle brother, a door appears in one of 4 trees set just outside the castle gate in North Hyrule Field. Each door leads to an underground chamber which contains a floor switch, a torch, and a treasure chest. The floor switches light the torches, and the treasure chests in the rooms opened by Tingle, Knuckle, and Ankle all hold Kinstones, while the chest in the room opened by David Jr. holds mysterious shells. Once all 4 torches are lit, a ladder appears in the ground in the center of the 4 trees. This ladder leads to a treasure chest which holds the magical boomerang. This more powerful boomerang can be controlled while flying through the air, much like the magical boomerang in Oracle of Seasons. With Vati ruling in the guise of King Daltis, the castle is closed to all visitors. There are 2 hedge mazes within the castle garden. The one to the east has no guards, and it leads to a Minish portal and some optional areas. One of those areas is the dojo of Grimblade, the brother of Swiftblade, the swordsman of Hyrule Town. Grimblade's dojo is dark, and he will not offer any training unless it is light. With the lantern, we can light 2 torches within his dojo. Grimblade teaches only one ability. the Sword Beam. Link can now fire beams from his sword at full health. This classic ability can be traced back to the very first game. Since A Link to the Past, it's often been linked with more powerful swords. This is the first time that it's been a learned skill. The maze on the west side has guards running patrols down the maze paths. It leads to a hidden castle entrance. Link needs to sneak in. Stealth sequences have been a series staple since Ocarina of Time. This particular sequence is fairly straightforward and not too difficult. Link needs to dodge 4 guards. If he is caught, he will be set back to the start of the maze. Once through the maze, Link can slash through some bushes and find a hidden ladder. The secret tunnel between the garden and the castle interior features a new rendition of A Link to the Past's cave theme, known as Dank Dungeons. There's also snake enemies. The tunnel's a simple L shape, with an obvious floor switch to open the entrance into the castle. Nothing tricky. We enter on the lower floor of the castle. It's deserted. Not a soul to be seen. Doors leading to the upper floors are all closed and cannot be opened. So we can head straight to the courtyard and straight into the elemental sanctuary. Link enters the shrine and once again places the white sword into the pedestal. The water element attaches itself to the southeast pillar. The powers of the elements then combine and the sword's hilt changes from red to blue. Link now has the ability to create 2 duplicates of himself for a total of 3 Links. 2 duplicates must be created each time Link uses his duplicating ability. Players cannot only have 2 Links. If only 2 Links are needed, players will need to create a formation that allows them to perform their task without prematurely eliminating their duplicates. In northern Hyrule Field, just east of the 4 trees that we opened by fusing the Kinstones with the Tingle brothers, there's a ladder leading underground. Going down this ladder, we can create 2 duplicates and push a large block out of the way. This opens the path to the Royal Valley. The Royal Valley is a dark, haunted place with music to match. The music is built on a bed of spooky noises. Howling wolves, hooting owls, and nightbirds give rise to slow, deep crescendoing strings. Those in turn give way to an arpeggio on higher strings and ghostly moans. It all has a nice Halloween-type vibe. The valley is populated with ghosts who have a taste for Link. They will grab him and lick him like a lollipop. There are also crows which dive at Link and attempt to steal rupees. When we first enter the valley, it is dimly lit, but objects can still be made out even without the aid of a lantern. The path takes us west and then north. When we turn north, we are plunged into a deeper dark, making the lantern a must. This area is yet another play on the original game's Lost Woods. Players need to take the correct path or they will be looped back to the start. In a twist seemingly inspired by the signpost maze of Link's Awakening, players navigate the area by finding signs and following instructions. The initial instructions are straightforward: up, left, but as players continue on, they'll begin to get a little more tricky directions like same as last or same as first. Beyond the Lost Woods styles maze, we find a maze of fencing and trees. In the north center is a locked gate leading to a graveyard. To the east of the gate, there's a house. It's owned by Dompe the Gravekeeper, first introduced in Ocarina of Time and making his 4th appearance in a Zelda game. He gives Link a key to the gate. That key is immediately stolen by a crow the moment we step outside. We need to find the crow and retrieve the key. I found it in a tree in the southwest corner, and I retrieved it by dashing into it with the Pegasus boots. There's a massive grave in the north center of the graveyard. It's the Royal Crypt. To get inside, Link needs to push a central gravestone up and out of the way. A set of duplicating tiles are under some rocks in the southeast side of the graveyard. The tiles are laid out in the exact formation we need. We split Link into 3 and then work our way around the gravestones to step on 3 floor switches immediately south of the Royal Crypt. The grave opens and we go inside. The Royal Crypt is a mini-dungeon which is clearly riffing on the original Legend of Zelda, right down to the music, which is a rendition of the original dungeon theme. In the very first room, we come face to face with Gibdo, who have items pinned to their chests. One has bombs, the other has a small key. It's a clear nod to how some enemies in the original game would sometimes carry keys or items. We use a stretchy mushroom to cross a gap and use the key on the center of 3 doors in order to advance. The other 2 doors are mimics first introduced in Ocarina of Time, and they'll simply fall on the player if they try to pass through them. This brings us to the central room of the mini-dungeon. Players need to get 2 keys by creating 2 duplicates of Link, and then navigating around a structure of blocks. One is on the east and one is on the west. On the east side, we walk around the blocks while dodging a spike trap. On the west side, we navigate around the blocks while on a moving platform. It is interesting to note that when the keys are revealed, we hear the key reveal jingle from the very first game. From there, it's more or less a straight shot to the end of the dungeon. We do need to light 4 torches to trigger a combat challenge against a pair of Gibdo. Once we defeat them, we enter the King's Tomb. The ghost of King Gustav appears. He's aware Link is on a quest to save Zelda. He gives Link a golden Kinstone piece and urges him to seek the source of the flow to find the path forward to saving Zelda. Players are then transported back to the graveyard. There are a couple of ghosts in the graveyard which we can fuse Kinstones with. We can also fuse Kinstones with Dampe. He also offers up an alternative path through the Lost Woods section of the Royal Valley. If players follow his directions, they'll find a chest full of mysterious shells. The Minish Cap may be one of the most tightly structured Legend of Zelda games out there, but it is still an open-world game, and if it wasn't clear already, I did not simply run from one main quest point to the next. I performed a number of side quests in between. There are a few that I want to highlight before we move on. The first involved Percy, the Poet of Hyrule. We first meet him at the Picori Festival at the very beginning of the game. After completing the Deepwood Shrine, we can find him in the Trilby Highlands inside a hollow tree. His path home in the western woods is blocked by a fallen tree. Fusing Kinstones with him opens the path. We can then find him in front of his home to the south. But an unknown woman has taken up residence inside. She urges Link to keep the home dark. After acquiring the flame lantern in the Temple of Droplets, we can go into the home and light 2 torches inside, to reveal the woman is in fact a moblin in disguise. She urges Link to keep it a secret in a nod to the original game. Percy then returns home, and Link is given mysterious shells as a reward. These shells are used to purchase figurines from a shop run by Karlov, the woodcarver who was first introduced in The Wind Waker. In the previous game, Karlov ran the Nintendo Gallery. It was the game's most extensive side quest, which involved taking photos of characters, monsters, and animals, and then giving those photos to Karlov so he could carve a figurine of it. In the Minish Cap, players obtain figurines from a toy vending machine. The mysterious shells are the only currency accepted at the machine. Each pull costs at least 1 shell. There are 130 figurines which can be collected prior to defeating Vati. And what figurine players will get is random. They can get doubles. Players are given the odds of getting a new figurine before each pull of the machine. They can boost their odds of getting a new figurine by adding more shells to the machine. 1 additional shell for each additional percentage point. I did not get all the figurines. This particular quest is somewhat infamous among Zelda fans. Players need to acquire all of the figurines in order to unlock a shop in town in order to get a heart piece. I've never completed the quest. Those who do often complain about having to spend hours grinding for mysterious shells. By shrinking down to Minish size inside Mama's Cafe, players can climb into the rafters of the building and then ascend to the roof. They can then cross from the cafe to Stockwell's item shop and end up behind the counter. There is a portal there that will make Link full size again. When I ventured behind the counter at this point in the game, I found a bottle. It's full of dog food. Stockwell says he's too busy to feed his dog Fifi, and says Link can keep the bottle if he will feed his dog for him. Stockwell's house is in the Lake Hylia area, north of the Temple of Droplets. We walk up to Fifi's dog dish and press R to empty the bottle and claim it. I also want to mention 3 additional Kinstone fusions. After housing 2 of the oracles, we can fuse Kinstones with all 3 of them. The fusions cause joy butterflies to appear in the world. 1 in Castor Wilds, 1 in the Wind Ruins, and 1 in the Royal Valley. Catching these butterflies awards Link with a buff. He receives speed increases in digging, swimming, and shooting arrows. I collected all 3 butterflies before heading to the source of the flow. If players are unsure what the source of the flow is referring to, there are several characters who will point the player to Vale Falls. If players approach the falls by bombing through a pair of blocks in the northeast corner of North Hyrule Field, they will find a large stone door next to a large waterfall. The door holds the other half of the golden Kinstone that was given to us by King Gustav. Fusing the Kinstones opens the door. We ascend the mountain, making our way through caves as we ascend and across cliff faces. There are some side areas with treasure chests and a wall to climb. There is a fork in the road at one point where players can choose either to go up a set of stairs or to take a ladder. Eventually, both paths lead back to the same place. At the top of the falls, we can see the tip of the head of a giant Goron. It is Big Goron from Ocarina of Time, to be specific. We won't be able to meet him for some time, however. We also find a large whirlwind. Jumping into it sends Link up to the sky. This is the 3rd time in the series that Link has visited the sky. The first 2 times were fittingly the previous 2 Four Swords games, which the Minish Cap is a prequel to. When we arrive on the cloud tops, we meet a girl with red hair and blue clothes that are distinct from what people wear in Hyrule. This girl, and a woman who I presume is her mother, were also present at the Picori festival at the start of the game. They said they traveled a long way to attend. Their clothes are also a match for the man from a faraway land in the yellow-roofed house in West Hyrule Town. The girl notes that most people cannot walk on clouds. She says that Link must be honest. However, both the girl and the woman say they've lost the wind, and they cannot return to their homes. But they say Kinstones should restore the wind. The music of the cloud tops is energetic and fun and heroic. It bears some similarity to the music of Mount Cornell. Like that piece, it combines together the melodies of the Legend of Zelda main theme with the Minish Cap title theme. However, this one is lighter, faster, and more joyful than the music for Mount Cornell. The first 20 seconds or so are full-throated and adventurous with bass, strings, and horns. Then it switches to a lighter tone with plush strings and woodwinds. The cloud tops play out between 2 levels. Players can move to an upper level by riding red whirlwinds. On the upper level, players can move between islands of cloud by jumping into white whirlwinds and gliding. Players need to move between the 2 layers of cloud in order to find the 5 golden Kinstones, and then to fuse them with tufts of cloud that hold the other half. Some clouds are topped with dense patches that are essentially walls of dirt but recolored white to match the clouds. We need to dig through these. The increased digging speed makes digging through these cloud banks way more fun. Along the way, we'll also encounter some piranha enemies who swim through the clouds, and Lakitu appearing from these Super Mario Bros. Games. Mario cameos in The Legend of Zelda are not uncommon. The Chain Chomps appear most often, but we have seen some other enemies and obstacles from Mario games in the past as well. In the Minish Cap, Lakitu attacks by throwing bolts of electricity rather than spiked turtles. Each Kinstone we fuse causes a pinwheel to turn. Once all 5 pinwheels are turning, a second massive whirlwind appears. The 2 members of the Wind Tribe take it up further into the clouds. Link follows. He finds himself in front of a multi-story stone building. Red banners sway gently in the breeze on either side of the door. A wind crest is directly in front of the building. Pinwheels decorate the clouds surrounding the building. Inside, players who fused Kinstones with the man from a faraway land in Hyrule Town earlier will find a familiar space. It is a building that serves as the home of the Wind Tribe. The woman who we met below with her daughter and directed us to match all the Kinstones tells us that we should meet with their elder, an old woman on the 4th floor. We're told that she knows all sorts of valuable information. On the second floor, we find Greggle, the old man who was possessed by a ghost. We've saved his life by sucking the ghost up into the gust jar. That is, players who fused Kinstones with the man from a faraway land were able to do that. If you didn't do it prior to this point, you won't find Greggle alive anymore. It's possible to miss the fusion, and if players do so, Greggle does die, and he will be absent from this room. If he is alive, Greggle will give Link light arrows as a thank you for saving him. We're told that the light arrows can fire arrows filled with sacred light. I assumed this meant simply that the arrows were stronger, though I noticed no real difference while playing. I'm not sure if I've ever acquired the light arrows on a past playthrough before. I did try to find out the exact difference between them, and I found a forum thread on zeldadungeon.net. It's here that I learned that the arrows have to be charged in order to see any effect from the light arrow. I never charged an arrow, which is why I noticed no difference. When testing it out for writing this script, I noticed a charged arrow would cut grass. I wasn't clear if there was much of a difference when it came to fighting enemies, however. On the 4th floor, we meet the Wind Tribe Elder. She tells us that the Wind Tribe moved to the clouds in an ancient age long past. The Wind Tribe apparently keeps an eye on what's happening on the surface world. She's aware of our quest to lift Vati's curse on Zelda. The wind element, we are told, is in the Palace of Winds above the Wind Tribe's home. We also learn of a Wind Tribe legend, which says that the way to the Light Force will be opened when the Bikori blade is fused with all 4 elements. Normally, people from the surface are not allowed into the palace, but she makes an exception for Link and Eslo. We venture up to the roof and find a 3rd large whirlwind. It carries us up to the penultimate dungeon of the game. The Palace of Winds recalls Vati's palace from the original Four Swords. The name is different. It was Vati's palace in the Four Swords, but Four Swords Adventures changed the name to Palace of Winds. And I believe the implication here is that they are all supposed to be the same place. The Palace of Winds in the Minish Cap is visually similar to Vati's palace in the Four Swords. Vati's palace featured more holes in the ground and bushes, which gave the suggestion that it was ancient and overgrown. There are no bushes to be seen in this place and fewer holes, but it's not a new or pristine place. There are cracked floors and tattered rugs. There are also a number of elements seen in Vati's palace that return here, including red spiked enemies which explode when touched, and chain link walkways with occasional panels that we can pass through with a jump. There are also fans which can be used to get extra distance from a jump. The music of the Palace of Winds is one of the longest, most complex pieces of music in the game. It has a lengthy introduction, which is light and airy. I would say on the whole it sounds positive. It features a call and answer melody with some sort of woodwind instrument and plucked strings. The melody eventually gives way to a slightly edgier bowed string section, which has a punchy feel to it. And it's all backed by militaristic drums, large bells, and the occasional sleigh bell. Around 56 seconds in, horns come in, backed by bowed strings, which walk the piece into a new key and a new melodic section. It's darker and more dramatic. It brings in some of that Indian influence that I picked up in the Castor Wilds theme as well, but it doesn't go all the way. The strings are dramatic, bringing an edge to it. While the accompanied call and answer melody are played on horns and perhaps a nadaswaram, it has a dramatic, royal feel to it. The dungeon is separated into 3 distinct sections, and it spans 5 floors. It doesn't seem to have any particular shape to it, though. The dungeon's highly vertical. Players use vertical stacks of cloud to ascend between floors, and in one instance to get extra height to make long jumps. Director Hidemaru Fujibayashi described this 3D design in a 2004 interview with Nintendo Dream. translated by Shmuplations. He said that they worked to incorporate a number of elements geared towards 3D into this 2D game. Zelda games are interested in 3D too, he said. But what we're aiming for with Minish Cap is a 2D GBA game that can compete with 3D Zeldas. Utilizing all our technological expertise, we're trying to make something that will be called the pinnacle of 2D gaming. The first floor is also the first segment of the dungeon. It revolves around using crystal switches to extend and retract bridges. The boomerang or arrows can be used to trip the switches over gaps. At the very end of the sequence, we fight 3 waves of green Wizrobes. Additional Wizrobes are added with each wave. Once they fall, a big chest appears. Inside is the dungeon item, Rock's Cape. Rock's Cape was of course first introduced in Oracle of Seasons, but it was also featured in 4 Swords. We can backtrack after getting it to pick up a Kinstone from a treasure chest by jumping through a rotating gate panel on a chain-link floor. We then ascend to the second floor to start the second segment of the dungeon by jumping up a set of stacked clouds. The Palace of Winds, like the Temple of Droplets before it, subverts expectations when it comes to the format of a dungeon, particularly with the Big Key door. This is not as big a subversion as the one in the Temple of Droplets. The typical dungeon format of the Legend of Zelda series was really set with Link's Awakening. Since that game, each dungeon featured a single Big Key door. The Palace of Winds, however, features 2, marking the first time since A Link to the Past that I can remember that there was more than one Big Key door. The second segment of the dungeon largely sees us following a set path through challenges in order to reach the first of the 2 Big Key doors on the 5th floor. We'll use the Rock's Cape to jump gaps, create duplicates to hit multiple crystal switches at once, dodge wind from fans to avoid being pushed off the edge, and then use wind from another fan to get additional distance on a long jump. We ascend stacks of clouds to move between the floors. In a standout sequence on the 3rd floor, during the second segment, we shrink down to Minish size, and we do sort of a push block puzzle with pots. We need to push the pots in order to open a path to a Minish sized door. We dodge some spike traps and go into the palace. In the interior, we can return to Link's normal size and hit a crystal switch on the other side of a barrier to get a small key to open a door. Not long afterwards, while on the 4th floor, we use stacks of clouds to gain extra distance on long jumps. We then ascend to the 5th floor and head south to find the first Big Key door. It's guarded by 2 ball and chain knights. We get a small key for defeating them, but we're still in need of the big key. The small key opens the door to the west. Through that door, we find a locked door to the north, and an open door which leads us down a looping path of challenges to get a small key to open that door to the north. Inside that door, we find the Big Key. We open the first Big Key door and find a drop leading all the way back down to the 1st floor. Eslo doesn't want to go, but he knows that we have to. We jump down and face the mini-boss. The mini-boss is a red Darknut. The fight's not really any different from past fights that we've had with Darknuts. We can really only get attacks in during moments when it drops its defenses. After the Darknut falls, a blue portal to the dungeon entrance appears, and a bridge extends to the north. The 3rd segment sees players working their way back up to the 5th floor and to the 2nd Big Key door. This segment of the dungeon is a little more free-flowing. It also plays much more with the verticality of the dungeon, and covers more interior space. As we head inside, we're greeted by a dark room. The lantern is a big help in navigating it. We can find the compass in a big chest on a raised platform on the right side of the room. There are stairs that lead up a floor to the left. We head up and navigate a looping path to the north to a central room which has a hole in the floor. We can fall through this hole to reach a chest in that dark room that's up on a raised ledge. Inside the chest is a small key. We get it and then head back up. Once back up, we head through a door to the south and create a formation of duplicates with gaps in between them to hit a set of crystal switches on the far side of the room. We dodge pillars and cracked floors on the way to the switches. This opens a door to the west. We dodge some spike traps and claim a second small key. We then head east and pass through a locked door. We use whirlwinds to glide further east and re-enter the palace and head up the floor. A looping path takes us north then west. In the north central room we find a combat challenge against fire elemental Wizrobes. The reward for defeating them is the dungeon map. Continuing to follow the loop west then south brings us to a staircase which leads to the 4th floor. On the 4th floor we can head north and push some blocks off a ledge, and then jump a gap in order to reach a door that leads to a heart piece. We got a glimpse of this heart piece earlier in the dungeon, but you can't reach it till now. The path forward sees us head east from the stairs we used to reach this floor. We destroy an exploding enemy across some gaps to break some blocks and open the path forward. We head up to the 5th floor and bomb our way into an outdoor area to the east. We need to bomb our way back in by finding a second weak spot on the wall to the north. It's not marked, so we need to strike the wall with our sword and listen for the sound to find the spot to place the bomb. We then need to grab another small key. To get it, we pass through a room packed with exploding enemies. If they explode, they will trigger a crystal switch, closing a door that leads to the key. We need to jump over the enemies, being careful not to set them off in order to move forward. Once we get the key, we're faced with a fairly tricky test of our vertical knowledge of the dungeon. The locked door we need to pass through is below us on the 4th floor. It's unreachable from that floor, however. We need to think to stand on a cracked floor above it, so that Link will fall through and reach the door. It took me quite a while to figure this out. I didn't remember the solution at all. Through the locked door, we navigate a maze filled with spikes and moblins. There are some additional treasures to grab, but the ultimate goal is to reach a set of stacked clouds to the east. We can jump up these clouds to reach the second big key door in order to face the boss. The boss is the Georg pair. We first saw Georg in Majora's Mask. In that game, it was a large toothed fish. The sharks in the Wind Waker were also referred to as Georg. In the Minish Cap, however, the Georg are manta rays. It makes sense on some level, perhaps. Rays and sharks are related fish with a common ancestry. There is one large red ray. It's the female Georg. A smaller blue ray is the male. The red ray has 8 eyes laid out in 2 rows. It has a set of duplicating titles on its body opposite the eyes. Only 3 eyes will open at a time in different patterns. We need to duplicate Link into a matching pattern in order to hit all eyes at once. Once enough damage is dealt, the female will fall away, and Link must jump onto the back of the male. It is smaller and has only 4 eyes. It alternates opening only 1 eye at a time. Once enough damage is dealt, we return to the female. As the fight progresses, the male begins to fire bubble projectiles at Link as he rides on the back of the female. And the female will begin to spit out baby green Georg to attack Link. After a few rounds, the pair falls. Once the Georg pair is gone, Link obtains the wind element. We're told it scatters life by scattering seeds. After getting the element, Aslo points Link back to the elemental sanctuary to infuse the white sword with the 4th and final element. We'll do that next week. If you want to follow along, please subscribe. If you've already subscribed, thank you. You are awesome. I'm Paul Riley, and I will see you next week.